At the prior hearing on the budget, a young man testified whose name was Leo Neufeld, and I was prompted to send him an excerpt from one of the great social justice statements in the history of mankind, the one by Leo XIII in 1891 that we refer to as On the Condition of the Working Classes. And I quote from that, and I think it reflects a lot of what's been said here tonight about folks that are employed. Many of them, we have a fairly decent employment rate in Dade County now, but can't meet the demands of a decent lifestyle. And on top of that, the tolls, fees, and costs that we're imposing on them. Leo XIII said, in any case, we clearly see, and on this there is general agreement, that some opportune remedy must be found quickly for the misery and wretchedness pressing so unjustly on the majority of the working class. In Dade County, over 50% of the people are spending more than 50% of their disposable income on housing and transportation. We have failed them in the area of transportation until this commission took it upon itself, with the leadership of Chairman Bovo and Chairman Moss and Barrero and all of us, to bring to fruition, at least partially, the dream of Joe Martinez many years ago as chairman of revitalizing rail throughout the county. So we've done reasonably well, although the formula is so confusing that most of us can't understand it. I'm still wading my way through it. And it does call for no unwinding of unification. So we now basically have unified operational and capital expenditures for the next 30 or 40 years, but at least it's a solution, and I have supported it, and I hope that that we carry it out. In the area of housing, the mayor stated at the last commission meeting that we spend over $200 million in housing. I'm sure that is what he believes is the case, and I guess he meant to say that that's a yearly expenditure, which it really is not. The real figures are that we get approximately, by the way, none of this is from general revenues. All of this is from different sources. Surtax, home, ship, or SHIP. I don't want people out there in the audience to think we're talking about naval ships. Add up to $45,523,000. We have built with that roughly 1,043 units per year, and we have quite a few in the pipeline. So the figure that the mayor was probably referring to is the figure of carryover monies that we hope will produce an additional 4,616 units. Basically, with $45 million a year for the last few years, we've produced 1,000 units. So we have a leverage factor only 2 to 1. Someone referred today to a leverage factor of 7 to 1. That would be very nice if we could accomplish it. If we could take $50 million or 1% of our operating budget from general revenues, and by the way, $50 million is 1/10 of the new taxes that we have since the recession. The same as the $50 million that we should be giving back to the PTP so that we can complete all 4 branches. What we have now in transportation is 2 short branches. We need at least 5, folks. And lately, we haven't been talking at all about the one that concerns Commissioner Barrero the most, which is Baylink. and we've been talking very little about the one that we were celebrating today in the city of North Miami, which is the Northeast Corridor. So it is on the capital side of this budget, absolutely impossible to support it until we start carrying out these development projects that we were obligated to and entrusted to do. In my particular district, by the way, on top of the $45 million that I mentioned that we get from mostly federal and state sources, we have built, in the last 6 years since I've been a commissioner, a total of 138 units with general obligation bonds, but those, and for the general public to know, those are exhausted as soon as we complete the Building Better Communities general obligation bonds that were passed in the year 2004. And I've exhausted my allocation of $10.6 million. So we could be doing a lot more in the area of affordable housing if we would do something that I started doing with Commissioner Heyman 6 years ago, which is to do a survey of all the properties that we own. I remember at the time the commissioner said to me, "You'll never find out what we own and lease because it's just too unwieldy." But anyhow, we did come up with an inventory of 4,500 properties. Commissioner Jordan then came up with the idea that if we sell some of these, we could produce substantial monies that we can put into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Somehow this county continues to be able to find properties that we can offer to Major League Sports franchises. In the case of the MLS, the last time I brought up the topic of what are we doing with this property was April 21, and we still haven't done anything with it. Why don't we just go ahead and build some affordable housing? In any case, if we did find, and we did, and by the way, those in the media that sometimes misunderstand why it's important for a county not to own so much property, forget that there's three things that happen when you sell, when you divest yourself of property that you don't need. The first thing is you get some cash, reduce debt. Second thing is you eliminate all the administrative costs of managing it. But the single most important thing you do is you have a stream of revenues forever and ever and ever in taxes. A government-owned property doesn't pay taxes. So, again, it's impossible. I think there's a lot of good faith in a lot of this, but I don't understand it. I don't see why we can't do better. And for myself, I can't vote for this budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.